welcome. So today we're going to look at this, which is the Lanshan 2. Now this is a 3-season ultralight backpacking tent. It's a trekking pole tent, so it has no poles of its own. You use trekking poles to put it up. You need 2 for this particular tent. This is made by 3F Ultralight Gear. It costs anywhere from 150 to 170 pounds. The price does tend to vary a little bit day to day. Now this is a double skin tent and it's an all-in-one pitch. It all goes up as one, that you can just pitch the inner and you can just pitch the outer. So they do come apart, but as it comes out of the box, it's just a straight up all-in-one pitch. The instructions on the internet say this is an 8 to 10 minute pitch. Now I've pitched this and it's taken me half an hour, and I've pitched this and it's taken me 10 minutes. It really does depend on where you are, what the ground is like, how much room you have, what the weather's doing. So 8 to 10 minutes, yes, flat ground, good conditions, that's doable. Anything else, a little bit of adversity, it does take a bit longer. So this material is 15D nylon. The hydrostatic head is 5,000 millimeters. The ground sheet of it is 20D nylon and 8,000 hydrostatic rating. Comes in 5 different colours. I've got the green, I think there's a white, a yellow, a brown, I think there's a red as well as green. And it weighs 1.4 kilos without the trekking poles, but that is in its stuff sack with the pegs and the little repair kit you get with it and the extra guy lines and things. So you can save weight if you swap out the aluminium pegs for some titanium ones. You don't necessarily need all of the guy lines if you choose not to, so you can save a bit of weight there, but 1.4 kilos is still pretty lightweight. As I say, it needs trekking poles, but if you're a person who walks with trekking poles, this is probably a good option for you. So when fully pitched, it is 210 centimeters long and 110 centimeters wide. They build this as a 2-man tent. Personally, I'm not so sure that it's a 2-man tent. I think it's a large 1-man, or maybe a tent that would suit a couple. But it depends how close you are with the person you're camping. If you like to cuddle in the night, then it's a 2-man tent. So we're going to go through pitching it, we're going to have a look at some of the features, and then we'll go through packing it away again, because in my experience it's very difficult to get tents back in their bags. So we'll go through packing it away as well. Okay, so pack size, the Lanshan 2 is approximately, I mean it varies depending on how you pack it, but it's approximately 30 centimeters by 15 centimeters that way. So it's pretty small and it fits in your bag really well. And for pitching, obviously you need 2 trekking poles. So first thing I'm going to do is adjust my trekking poles to the right height. I'm going to go 120 on these, and you can set them relatively to whatever you want, but 120 is about right, I think. So the first thing we do is lay it out and peg out the 4 corners. Now I wouldn't stress too much about, you know, how tight you make it, because you will be adjusting it after. It's just a rough peg out. And here you've got 2 different colour tabs. You've got a green one and an orange one on this tent, and to me it would make sense that you peg the green one, but you don't. You peg the orange one. Stick that roughly in the ground. Loosen this off, because once you've put it up, this is the one you'll pull to tighten. So you go around, do 4 of them. And next we're going to take a trekking pole and we're going to push that up inside. So there's a kind of a reinforced area here. I'm just going to line up the handle of the trekking pole, flip that bit over, so it's all a bit untangled, and then down here there's a bit of bungee cord. Just stick the bottom of your trekking pole in it, and I just like to just push the trekking pole in the ground a little bit. Right, and you want to keep hold of this bit and have a peg in your hand. Just that a bit tighter. And when you get this tent, they give you a loop on the end here, and that is for this peg to go through. I have found when I've pitched it that the loop hasn't seemed to be in the right place, so we'll see how it goes here. That's okay. Let's pull these a bit tighter. And that's one side up. So we'll do the same the other side, and then we'll go around and repeg the four corners and just tighten it all up. If you can see on here, this, when you buy the tent, this isn't attached. This is a little attachment that hooks to one of the door pieces, and that then is your main support. So, you know, this little peg may not be sufficient. It may be worth investing in a bit more of a stout peg for these two, because these are what hold your tent up completely. So now it's just adjusting your original 4 pegs. Square them off, get them in the ground, and in higher winds you've got these extra guy lines, but they're not always necessary. If the weather's pretty nice, then it's not really worth bothering with them. So you've fettled and got it all where you want it. The last thing is these shock cords under here, which are attached to the inner part of the tent. You just loop them over your pegs, and that just pulls out your inner section. Just go around and do all of them. And that's it done. Have a look inside. You got nice protection from the rain here with the Velcro tabs on the zippers both sides. You've got airflow both sides, and you've got airflow underneath both sides. It's always worth, when you then open the doors, is you've got to just straighten your poles, and that may affect how it's pitched, so you might have to go around and fettle again. But you've got them tabs that you made nice and loose in the beginning, and you just need to pull on them a little bit, and that will just tension it all up nicely. So as you can see inside, you've got lots of headroom. You know, I can sit right upright, my head doesn't go anywhere near the ceiling, and if you was a taller person, you know, you can make your poles that little bit bigger and you know, give yourself a little bit more room. So these Lanshan 2s, you know, they've got a good reputation, they're very popular. I would have some concerns though. In any kind of rough weather, you know, in in high winds or even moderate winds, I would be concerned about that pole just tipping over. But I think it's one of those tents that I think you would learn to trust. So you wouldn't just take it straight out in gale force wind. I think you've got to build up to it and get some experience and learn what it can take. But as a one-person tent, I think it's fabulous. As a two-person tent, it's probably a bit cramped really. But as a lightweight option, if you adjust, putting it up and going to sleep, you could just about squeeze 2 people in there. The interesting thing about it is that the doors are on opposite sides. So this door is on this half of the tent, that door through there is on the opposite half of the tent. So if you and a mate, for example, were camping, you would top and tail in there. You would have to have some skinny air mattresses, a thermarest type thing. You'd fit 2 side by side, no problem. But if you had a wide boy mat, then you may have some trouble. But if you have to pair a thermarest side by side, top to tail, you've got your own door here at your head, they've got their own door the other side at their head. And I think it would work really well. But personally speaking, I wouldn't want to share this tent with anyone other than my wife, I'd say. I would consider this to be a palatial one-man abode, and I'd sleep starfish. And you could drag all your gear in there and still have room to, you know, toss about in the night. The things I see wrong with this tent: yes, it's lightweight, but I think with the lightweight comes a certain element of fragility. As I've mentioned previously, you know, high winds, I would sleep with one eye open, I would be a little bit worried. And another thing, I think, you know, there's a vestibule both sides, but look how high that is off the ground. It's halfway up my forearm. That's a long way up, and it is a bit flappy. So yes, you could put your boots and your bag out here, but any kind of strong wind, any kind of driving rain, it's got to get under there surely. So I think there would be a risk that your gear out here could potentially get wet. That being said, if you were using it as a one-man tent, that's not an issue, because you can drag all your gear inside with you. You've got plenty of ventilation though, because there's so much room here. So wind is going to get under there, wind is going to get up in these little windows up here. You know, on the positive side of it, there's so much room in here for one. And having 2 doors, having 2 vestibules, you've got a couple of hooks for hanging things on. There's a little bit of storage. You might get a phone in there, but not a lot else. I think it's lacking a little bit in storage, but maybe that's them trying to save weight. I know this is sitting on my head, but I am slouching. Laying down, if I put my feet right to the end, now I'm 5'8", and there's almost another foot ahead of above my head there. So spacious is not the word, it is palatial. But I think with 2 of you it would quickly become very cramped, and you would be banging into one another, and maybe it might add to a bit of stress if you were in bad weather. So in my overall verdict, I think this is a great couples tent or a great one-man tent, but I wouldn't be comfortable using it as a 2-man. And while it's very light, reasonably easy to pitch, I would have my concerns in any kind of bad weather. But overall, it's a decent tent. It really is. It's, you know, I have spent the night in it, and I just had so much room I couldn't get over it. Right, so packing this tent away, it's essentially the reverse of what you did. So we're going to take out the structural pegs either side, remove the trekking poles, then we'll take the 4 corners, and then we'll do some origami. So all the pegs are out and the poles are out too. Keep that handy there. Right. So packing this away. Now the base of this tent is black. So what I like to do is fold up everything within that base. So if you fold this in half, so the black base is halfway along, tuck everything in, and fold that bit in there like that. So folded it all into the middle, see, like that. And then that is about the length of the bag. So if we put the bag and the tie at that end, and then very carefully roll it up. And you don't get any tangled strings. You're protecting the outer part of the tent, rolling it up into the slightly tougher floor. And there you go. Put that between your legs. Nice, tie that tight on there. And then the bag slots over. Grab the pegs, push your pegs down the side, squeeze him down a bit. This works like a dry bag. Squeeze all the air out, fold it over a couple of times, grab your tab from the other end, and there you are, one tent sausage. It's not perfect, but it's in the bag and it's as straightforward as you can make it. If you've enjoyed this video, found it useful in any way, please hit the thumbs up button. It does help the video get a bit of traction in the land of YouTube. If you like the content of the channel, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.